Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down one of the absolute toughest decisions in the world of intellectual property. You know the one. You've gotten that final rejection on a patent application, and now you have to figure out what to do next.
So just picture it. Your team has poured an incredible amount of time, a ton of money, and just so much belief into an invention. It is a huge, huge undertaking, and you are right there, basically at the finish line.
But then you hit a wall. You get that final rejection. You've made all the arguments, you've presented the evidence, but the path forward is just blocked. You are officially at a crossroads.
And this, right here, this is the crucial moment. It can totally define the future of your invention's protection. Do you stand your ground and appeal, or do you file for what's called a continued examination to keep that dialogue going? Okay, let's really dive into this.
You know, this decision, it almost never feels black and white. It's what a lot of people in the field called the gray zone. It's a really strategic moment that honestly tests every single company's judgment and foresight.
So on one path, you've got the appeal. This is your shot to argue your case in front of a neutral panel, and the goal is simple: completely overturn that examiner's rejection. But then there's the other path, the RCE, which stands for Request for Continued Examination. This reopens the whole conversation with the same examiner, and it lets you tweak your claims and keep negotiating. It's usually faster, sure, but you might end up with narrower protection.
Okay, now here's where things get really tricky. The single most common mistake that companies make is looking at this decision in a vacuum, focusing only on the one patent application that's sitting on their desk. I want you to think of each patent application like a single piece of a giant puzzle. When you're just staring down at that one piece, it is so incredibly easy to get lost in all the tiny details of that single rejection. And what happens? Your decisions start getting driven by emotion, by the frustration of that moment.
And that right there is the trap. Because when you're hyper-focused on that one little piece, you completely miss the bigger picture you're trying to build. You lose sight of your overall strategy, and that almost always leads to wasted time, wasted money, and a whole lot of missed opportunities.
This narrow view, it just leads to these reactionary decisions. You start missing patterns in how certain examiners operate. You totally disconnect your legal moves from your real business goals, and you end up creating these bottlenecks right where you should be building momentum. So what's the solution? Well, it's about changing our entire perspective.
The answer is a really fundamental mindset shift, and it's called portfolio thinking. It's all about moving away from short-term reactions and toward a real long-term strategy. And this new mindset, it builds a much, much better framework for making these critical decisions.
So what is portfolio thinking? It means you stop staring at that one little puzzle piece and you zoom out so you can see the entire board. You start to understand how every patent application interacts and overlaps and supports all the others in your portfolio. They're all connected.
The process itself is actually pretty simple, but it is incredibly powerful. First, you acknowledge the rejection, of course. But before you do anything, you zoom out. You have to ask yourself, what is the actual business goal of this specific patent? Is it protecting a core feature? Is it meant to block a competitor? Is it laying a foundation for future products? It's only after you answer that question that you can make a truly strategic call.
Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, right? But how does this new mindset actually help you make the call between an appeal and an RCE in a real-world situation?
Well, this table makes it super clear how you can turn what feels like an emotional choice into a data-driven one. I mean, just look at that first row. If the examiner has clearly, obviously misapplied the law, an appeal makes total sense. You're trying to set a precedent, and you want a fresh set of eyes on the case. But now contrast that with the second row. A core feature needs protection, and it needs it fast for a product launch. In that case, an RCE is the strategic move. You got to maintain momentum. See how each path is tied directly to a specific business outcome.
It's really all about balancing the full context. So you have to start asking questions. What are our business timelines? Is there a funding round or a big product launch right around the corner? What's this specific examiner's track record? Are they generally open to negotiation, or do they kind of have a history of needing an appeal to move a case forward? And of course, the big one, how does our budget weigh against our long-term strategic goals for this tech?
You know, when you really adopt this portfolio thinking mindset, the entire function of your patent portfolio starts to shift. It stops being this defensive cost center, and it starts becoming a proactive driver for the business.
And this quote just gets right to the heart of it. By having a clear strategy, you move from this state of constant pressure and just reacting to one of strategic precision, where every single move you make has a purpose. And the difference in the outcomes is It's stark. A reactionary mindset, that leads to stress and wasted money. But a strategic mindset, that leads to precision, to an optimized investment, and to a patent portfolio that becomes a true business asset, something that actively builds momentum for your company.
At the end of the day, a really well-managed portfolio does so much more than just protect technology. It signals strength and foresight to your investors, to your partners, and definitely to your competitors. It tells the entire market that you're not just building something new, you are strategically planning for its future.
So the crucial takeaway here is to ask yourself this one question. The answer is going to tell you whether you're just collecting patents or if you are truly creating a powerful long-term asset that drives the value of your entire company.